Alright, now we're to the hard part. This comment right here. So we have to be able to rotate the shapes. In all my rotations, I'm going to rotate clockwise. And I'm going to try and use some comments to be able to tell where exactly the shape is going to go to from its previous position. Each of the blocks will need to be in the right spot in order to make sure the rotation is correct. And the last rotation has to go back to the original position. So all of that has to happen for rotations to work. Alright. Rotation, rotate, shape. Let's put this after random color. So I'm going to show you 3 of them, one of which is kind of lame. The block doesn't actually rotate. But I'm going to show you a straight and a T shape. The reason why this matters is that the straight piece, as well as the Z and the S shape, actually only have 2 different rotations they can go through. They rotate, well, this vertical line, for example, rotates to a horizontal line and then back, so it's only got 2 rotations. The Z and the S, if you think about it, also only have 2 rotations. They basically go vertical and then back to horizontal. And then the T shape and the L and J all have 4 rotations. So you're going to have to figure out the L and J, but I'll show you how the T shape works. So to begin with, if the shape is the straight piece. Now there was this rotation variable up here at the top. This guy. This is going to become important. We're going to need to be able to set that. So after we create a shape up here, let's also set its rotation to 0 inside of create Tetris shape. This is basically meaning this is the basic rotation that we come in with. We're going to use this to keep track of what our orientation is when we're rotating the shape. So if the rotation is 0, so I'm going to use 0 and 1 for my straight line piece, then I'm going to try setting the blocks to another rotation to see if they're going to hit anything. If they do hit anything, I got to move them all back and basically not allow the rotation to happen. For rotation 0, I need to basically, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 vertically right now, so I'm going to change it to 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row after that. I think I'm going to leave block 2 in place and just rotate around it. So 1 is basically going to go from just above the 2 here to the side. 3 is going to be just below it and move to the right. 4 is going to move over 2 and up 2 to be on the right side. So I'm going to set the X position of block 1. It's going to move, if it's just above the 2, it's going to move left 20, so minus equals 20. And I'm going to just put this all in one line just to make it a little easier to see and not use so much space. So then it went left, and now it needs to go down, which remember that going down in the Y position is adding, so we're going to add 20 to that. Block 3 is going to move. I'm going to leave block 2 in place. It's going to move to the right, so it's under the 2, it's going to move right and up. So it's going to add 20 to the X position, and it's going to subtract 20 from the Y. Finally, 4 is going to follow 3, except it's going to go twice as far. So it's going to be 40 in the X, and its Y position is going to subtract 40. Let's go ahead and set our shape to only be the straight piece instead of the block to make sure that this is working properly. If I press up, oh no, block is not defined. Well, co is not a thing. Neither is that. There we go. Oh, I should probably make sure that these are block 1, 3, and 4 as well. That seems important. There we go. So it looks like it actually placed them in the correct spots. But now that we're in this spot, then we need to check to see if there's going to be a collision. So if I rotate into a block, that's also not allowed. So I'm going to check to see if these things hit again. I'm going to use the same command I used to check to see if it hits the bottom. If I do hit, I need to move back. So I need to set the X position to be the opposite of what it just was. So I subtracted 20, so now I'm going to add 20. I added 20 to the Y, so now I'm going to subtract 20 from the Y for block 1. Block 3 needs to move back, so it's going to subtract 20. Its Y is going to add 20. And then for the X, I'm going to subtract 40 to move it back to where it was in the X. And I'm going to add 40 in the Y, so that I don't rotate into something. If I hadn't done this, so let me show you what it would have looked like otherwise. I would have been able to move over here and end up in the wall. So by doing this, now if I move them next to the wall, I can. I just realized I needed to set a 4 there as well. I'm having trouble with those. So now if I move them next to the wall, nothing happens. So that's one of the 2 rotations. If I don't collide, I need to make sure that I say, hey, you are now in the other rotation. So rotation 1 means that I am in a horizontal line. So that closes the else, this closes the rotation. This is the end of shape. This is the end of rotate shape. Just so I don't get lost amongst all these braces, because there's a bunch. Rotation 0, 2, 1. Okay. Next, I need to go back into my original shape. If I'm not rotation 0, so if the rotation is 1, I'm going to actually be doing something very similar to what I had here. So I'm going to pull this for now, but I'm going to have to change a bunch of the pluses and minuses to be the opposites of what they were. So let's go ahead and create a visual of this thing using comments. We're going to change to 1, 2, 3, 4. And once again, I'm going to leave block 2 in place. It turns out this one's pretty easy. I'm just going to have to reverse all the pluses and minuses on this in order to get back to where I was. Because if I subtracted 20 before, I just add 20 to get back to the previous position. So this one is relatively straightforward. Now don't forget, in your collisions, you also have to change those signs as well. And then if I do this rotation, then I'm going to now be back in rotation 0 again. And then if I get close to the bottom, I cannot rotate into it. Beautiful. Okay, that was one shape. Now the Z and the S are going to be very similar. They're going to have a 0 and 1 rotation, and they're going to rotate into the opposite shape. Well, they don't rotate in the opposite shape. They rotate in the opposite orientation. You may want to leave particular ones in place, so this one, you could move the 4 up to the top here, and the 3 over to the side to make it in the proper shape. So you could actually leave a couple of them in the same spots. And the same with the Z shape here. Straight, S and Z are going to be the same pattern.